Well, here we are again, continuing our discussion about three umpire mechanics. This is the second film in a series of three films covering the three umpire system. In our first film, we talked about the starting positions. In this film, we will cover the rotations that are unique to the three umpire system and in which starting positions they are used. Let me explain what we mean by unique. Umpires will move or rotate to cover their initial plays and their subsequent plays, just like they do in any umpire system. But in the three umpire system, there are prescribed situations when umpires completely change their current positioning and move to a new and different place, and in the process pick up new responsibilities. These are called rotations. Rotations are used for very good, solid reasons. One of the main tenets of the three umpire system is that the lead runner will always be bracketed with umpires. By employing the rotations we are about to learn, we satisfy this tenet with ease and often beauty. It is a beautiful thing to watch umpires executing a perfect rotation. You and your crew will be very proud of yourselves when you do. But understand too that missing rotations is one of the most common breakdowns when working with three umpires. We will allude to many times in the course of this session the need for umpires to mentally prepare or prep themselves before every pitch. Since none of us work this system as much as we would like, it is imperative that we coach ourselves as we work. What that means is that before every pitch we must review. We must know in advance if it is a time to rotate. We must know in advance where we will go on a batted ball. We must know in advance where we will go if our partner goes out on a fly ball. We must know in advance when we should go out on a fly ball. If we make it a habit to review before each pitch, we won't have to figure it out all at once as soon as the ball is batted. We call this pre-pitch preparation, and it will save your bacon. Rotations, as we noted, are designed to have an umpire on each end of the lead runner. Rotating clockwise accomplishes this. We will see how it plays out as we go more into each rotation. Now this is an absolute. If an umpire chases, if an umpire goes out on a fly ball, there is no rotation. If an umpire chases, we are left working with only two umpires, and they will be hustling and moving to different positions. But that's not rotating as we use the term in describing three umpire mechanics. There are only three situations when umpires rotate. Two of them are called full rotations, and they involve all three umpires. One of them is a partial rotation, and it involves only two of the umpires. With no one on base, that means we are in the standard starting position. Umpires will use a full rotation. With a runner on third only, again, we are in the standard starting position. Umpires will employ a full rotation. But this one comes with a caveat. The rotation will only take place if the runner on third scores without a play on her. Finally, a runner on first only. That means we are in the rotated starting position, and we will employ only a partial rotation, meaning that only the plate umpire and only the first base umpire are involved with the rotation. 3 umpires, 3 times to rotate. Remember, 3 umpires, 3 starting positions. 3 umpire mechanics, 3 starting positions, 3 rotations. That ought to help make remembering or recalling some of this stuff a little bit easier. Our rotations require rhetoric. And what that means is communication. We need to tell our partners where we are. If we're the third base umpire and moving into second base, we need to holler to our first base umpire, "I'm at second." If we're the first base umpire rotating to home plate, we need to holler at our home plate umpire, "I've got home." This helps umpires commit to their responsibilities and gives a sense of ease that all is going as it should. Let's cover each rotation in detail. A full rotation only takes place when no one is on base. That means, of course, that umpires will be in the standard starting position. Here's how it works. The plate umpire goes up to third base. The third base umpire goes to second base. And the first base umpire goes to the plate after the lead runner passes second base. Rotations always occur after an umpire's initial responsibilities at their beginning base. I'm going to try to draw it out here. Here's a full rotation with no one on. The ball is hit out somewhere in the outfield. The runner or batter runner is on her way to first. First base umpire will come inside the diamond, or, as you know, our state association has adopted a mechanic that allows the first base umpire to stay outside the diamond. However, for this purposes of this presentation, you're going to come inside the diamond, and notice that our umpire got there well before the batter runner touched first base, because his first job is to see that batter runner touch the base. Our third base umpire then moves into a primary position at second base, and our plate umpire, because we don't know yet how many extra bases this is going to be, simply comes out into the infield in front of the plate and is ready to see where he's needed, if he's needed, and watch the action. So there we are in a position immediately after the ball is hit. Here's our runner advancing on to first base. She rounds first and is on her way to second base. Now this is a key for our plate umpire then to move to his primary position at third base. When the batter runner or the lead runner is approaching second base, the plate umpire should move a full commitment to their position at third base. Now our runner has touched second, and our third base umpire has seen her touch second. that being his only job in this situation. And she is now advancing to third base. This then is the key for our first base umpire. It's pretty sure that this runner is not going to come back to first base, and she is advancing to third, so this is the key for our first base umpire to go to the plate. So there we are now in our full rotation, and here comes the runner. Our plate umpire sees her touch third, and as she comes home, our first base umpire, who has rotated to the plate, sees her touch the plate. So we'll look at this kind of one more time. Come inside or stay out if you choose. Third base umpire move into a primary. The plate comes out in front of the plate first and then commits to his position at third. And there we have a full rotation from the standard starting position with no runners on base. Now here our first base umpire comes home. I used the looping motion, as you can see here, but that's just to illustrate. Remember in our previous side, our umpire came straight on in. That's the easiest way, and there's no reason you need to loop around. But in order to diagram this clearly, I went ahead and put that there. Okay, in a full rotation then, the plate has all calls at third base. The first base umpire has the initial call at first base and then all calls at home plate. The third base umpire has all calls at second base. Now, here again, we're going to use a full rotation, but we have a runner starting at third. That means we are in a standard starting position, but we will rotate only if the runner on third will score without a shadow of a doubt. That means that there will not be a play on her at third base or the plate, because if they're going to try to play on her at the plate, she might just put on the brakes and head back to third, and we do not want our third base umpire abandoning third base if there is any chance of a play at the plate or at third base. If there is a chance, there will be no rotation, and umpires will just umpire their position. Third base umpire will stay at third, the first base umpire will get first and second, and the plate will stay at home and get home plate. Now we're going to talk about the partial rotation, which involves only two umpires. This is the third and the final time that umpires rotate. It is from a rotated starting position, which we know from the previous film means that we have a runner on first base only. We also know that this means the third base umpire is out in the diamond and not on the line. And this then gives us another absolute for three umpire mechanics. If you start in the diamond, that is, you do not start on the line, you will not be involved in a rotation. Here's how the partial rotation works. First base umpire pivots inside, or using our state-adopted mechanics, stays outside. Either way, she sees the batter runner touch first base. When the runner from first goes beyond second base, the first base umpire starts for home plate. We learned that key in our full rotation. She does not need to commit to home plate. It's kind of a yo-yo effect. If the runner only rounds second, then the umpire needs to only go some part of the way to first base. But if the runner from first is going full bore around second and heading for third, then the first base umpire needs to go completely to the plate. Now, it is possible in this situation that the batter runner is still at first base when the first base umpire has to leave. In this case, since the runner from first is well on her way to third, that leaves the third base umpire with no responsibilities at second base, and he needs to move over towards first and pick up all responsibilities on the batter runner at both first and second base. So, if the runner from first goes to third, the partial rotation goes into action. The first base umpire has the initial play or job at first base. That is, she must see the batter runner touch the base. Then she has all plays at the plate on the runner from first and the batter runner should she advance on around. The third base umpire has the initial play or job at second base, and in this case that is seeing the runner from first touch second. Then he has all plays on the batter runner at first and second. The plate umpire rotates to third base the same as he did in both full rotations, and he takes all plays at third on the runner from first and the batter runner. So let's take a look at this partial rotation. Partial rotation starts with the runner on first base, and here we have our runner on first base, and we know that also means that our third base umpire will start here in the diamond in the rotated position. And there's our runner, and the ball is hit, and there's our runner who has now left first on the hit ball, and our batter runner now advancing toward first. Our first base umpire pivots inside the diamond, that is behind the runner who left first and prior to the batter runner touching first. Our third base umpire pivots inside the diamond ahead of the runner approaching second base, and our home plate umpire comes out in front of the plate. So there we are in that position. Now our runners advance. Here our runner from first is approaching second. Our batter runner has touched first and has rounded. As the runner from first approaches second, the plate umpire then moves into a position at third base. As the runner from first leaves second, our first base umpire then comes down to the plate. And our third base umpire will pick up the batter runner either at first base, or if she advances to second, will take her on to second. Now once again in these slides we have used the base umpire pivoting inside for illustration purposes. But please remember that with our Arizona state adopted mechanic, base umpires can choose to stay outside the diamond. And in this particular case, it might well be the wise thing to do. Let's kind of try to visualize this. Let's have our third base umpire stay outside here. Will he be able to see the runner from first touch second? Sure he can. He can see that. Now where is the play likely to go? Will it go to first base on the batter runner? Will it go to second base when the runner's already past it? No, the throw is probably going to go to third base, or even more likely it's going to go to home plate. So as the throw then comes in either to home plate, or as the throw comes in over here to third, now our third base umpire, who has stayed on the outside, is in an excellent position to have the ball, the base, both bases that he's responsible for, first and second base, all the defenders, the second baseman, the shortstop, the first baseman, the catcher, everyone's in front of him, and the runner that he's now responsible, the batter runner here, is in front. So you see, in a situation like this, the best choice for our third base umpire may well have been to actually stay outside the diamond. Reviewing then, in a partial rotation, the plate umpire has all calls at third, as he did in all of our rotations. The first base umpire has the initial call at first and all calls at home, as she did in our two full rotations. And our third base umpire, who is not involved in this rotation really at all, simply takes all calls at second and any subsequent calls or plays over at first base. Caution, caution. Once again, we must communicate what we're doing. Rotations require rhetoric. Stay with the runner you are initially responsible for until you know that there's help ahead. So in this situation, our first base umpire should not just turn and bust for home plate, but should make sure that the third base umpire is there at second for the batter runner or for the runner from first. How can our first base umpire know this? By our third base umpire communicating. I'm here. I've got second base. So the first base umpire does not want to leave first base until they hear from their partner and until that lead runner is leaving second base. At this point, the third base umpire will pick up first when the first base umpire leaves. So let's have a little quiz on what we just learned in this film. If you're watching it as a group, then maybe go around the room in a row, each one answering a question, or just holler the answers out. If you're at home sitting in front of your own computer, just answer the questions. This is more for your edification. Certainly, there's not going to be any score recorded. So how many times, how many situations do umpires rotate by the mechanics? Remember, the mechanics exclusive to the three umpire system. How many times do umpires rotate by the mechanics in the three umpire system? 3. 3 umpires, 3 starting positions, 3 rotations. How many of these 3 rotations are full rotations that involve all 3 umpires? 2 of them. Which umpires are involved in the partial rotation? The plate umpire and the first base umpire. Full rotations take place from which starting position? The standard starting position, because we use a full rotation when there are no runners on base. We also use a full rotation when we have a runner on third only. In both those situations, umpires are in a standard starting position. A partial rotation takes place from which starting position? The rotated starting position. When in the rotated starting position, that means 2 things. 1, that we have a runner on first base, and that's the only runner we have. And 2, that the third base umpire is not on the line but is starting within the diamond. Which umpire has all plays at third base in all rotations? The plate umpire. Which umpire has all plays at the plate in all rotations? That would be the first base umpire. And that brings us to the end of the second film in this series of 3 films on 3 umpire mechanics. The next and final film will cover the various and changing responsibilities of each umpire when starting in one of the 3 starting positions. If you are watching these films in a group, you might want to take some time now to field any questions concerning rotations. Otherwise, it is recommended that you watch the next film right away so that it flows right along with the 2 you have just seen.